streets of Hollywood Boulevard, seeking his prey.
He comes from a planet very far away.
Bigfoot does not exist.
We're flying into a hole in the sky. There's nothing I can do to stop it. It's sucking us in.
The limits of the third dimension must be transcended by negating the forces of duality and ascending into unity.
Our system known as Reticular.
The Creepy and Weird Podcast, brought to you by Hippie Steve.
Hickory dickory dock. Oh, have mercy. Well. We're back again, aren't we, B-Mac? Back again with another round of debauchery. You know, last time, B-Mac, you really weren't talking. You're eating your pork and beans, and I was talking about the Kali Yuga. And, I'm kind of missing our little pre-podcast discussions before we get into the subject at hand. So I kind of want to bring that back. I know there's some people who don't like it, but I like it, and it's my show. So guess what? I mean, if I like something, I'm going to do it. So why not? So, what do you want to talk about, B-Mac? We didn't write anything down. We did one episode one time where we're talking about sponsors. Of course, that's not going to work out when you don't have any viewers. Hint, hint. Pay attention to me. But, what will drive viewers, B-Mac, is probably some guests. So, I know we have somebody lined up for an interview that kind of fell through a little bit. Not on wasn't that person's fault. It was actually my fault. But we'll get that person on the podcast sooner rather than later. But who do you think, other than the person not to be named, who do you think we should have on? Do you have any ideas? Come on, B-Mac. You gotta think of somebody. Christina Ricci? Do you think Christina Ricci would want to be on our podcast, on Creepy and Weird, with like 43 views? I mean, maybe if we, get big time, but, let's not count on that. I mean, why Christina Ricci, of all people? Oh, B-Mac, you dirty dog. You've been watching way too much, what's that movie called? Black Snake Moan? I've been watching that a lot, too. I don't blame you. Now I'm thinking about, let's get Christina Ricci on. Let's get her on. Let's see if we could get a little piece of her action. Not like that, B-Mac, you pervert. I'm talking about views, okay? This isn't the Howard Stern show back when he was cool. All right? Jeez, B-Mac. This guy over here. Well, now it's my turn. Let me think about who we can have from me, from this mind, not you, with your mind in the gutter. You know what would actually be a good guest on this podcast would be the former governor of Minnesota. Do you know who that is? Jesse the Body Ventura, the conspiracy guy. But he's kind of old and crazy now. And didn't he do that? Did he do a interview with like Theo Vaughn a couple years back, and it was like crazy? And he just kept talking about bands nobody cares about, and it's like none of it made any sense. Yeah, I think that guy is, I don't know. I think he's got a few screws loose now, so, you know what, Mr. Ventura, you could go keep your ass in the Baja with your 50 dogs and portable water. You have no place on our podcast. I'm sure you're devastated. But Any other thoughts, BMAC? Any other people that you think might be a good fit for this podcast? Yeah, you see what I have to deal with here? BMAC's a mute. He doesn't talk, and I know that's his deal, but come on, I need some help, man. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, you know who's... I don't know if this is fake, if this is fake news, but I actually heard that Kevin Spacey, of all people, is trying to make a comeback. I'm not sure what that's all about. I think he'd have enough money. Doesn't need to make a comeback, but I don't know. Maybe he wants to repair his name. But you think Kevin Spacey might be a good fit for our podcast? I mean, all those accusations, allegedly, I don't know. Everybody deserves a second chance. I mean, God. I'm just thinking about it right now. I don't know. You know? I mean, I liked his movies. Well, he was in that movie K-Pax, and didn't he eat like a whole fucking banana? There's some innuendos there. I think he was trying to give us a sign. I don't know, B-Mac. Jesus. Eating a whole banana. So we might have this guy coming in going balls deep on us. I'm not saying he would, but that could happen. And then wasn't he the bad guy in the movie Seven? You know? Do we really want the bad guy from the movie Seven on our podcast? Eating whole bananas? You know, it gives a whole new meaning to what's in the box. Get it, B-Mac? Have you ever seen the movie Seven? What's in the box? And you know what was in the box? A head. So we got bananas and we got head. Yeah, I'm connecting the dots here. No. Big pass on that, Mr. Spacey. Best of luck to you, my friend. But not here, not now. Just no. So I think that's all I got. You got anybody else? Of course you don't, B-Mac. Well, with that out of the way, welcome to Creepy and Weird. I am your host. Sorry, I just have weird thoughts in my head right now. And I'm not going to do 2 takes. That was a legit mess up. I'm not going to lie. But guess what? I'm not going to do another take. So I'm going to start over. All right, on the count of 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Creepy and Weird. We are revered, we are feared, making funnies and hitting honeys. We do it slightly, politely, and possibly all nightly. Today's subject is the most provoking one yet. Get ready for this one, folks. This has never been covered on any other podcast, show, none of it. Art Bell hasn't talked about it. Joe Rogan hasn't talked about it. Kevin Spacey probably hasn't even talked about it. So the subject at hand that we're going to talk about for this groundbreaking episode, drum roll please. Drum roll. You ready? Today's subject is going to be, are Stephen King and Bob Lazar the same person? I'm just yanking your chain. It is kind of strange how they look alike, though. Maybe we should make an episode about that one day, but would that be like a 2-minute episode? I want to do something a little longer than 2 minutes. But no, I'm just joking. That's, this is a paranormal podcast, but we're also allegedly a comedy podcast as well, so take that for what you will. But in all actuality, in all seriousness, if I could be serious for a minute, we are instead going to talk about one of my, if not my favorite paranormal subjects, the simulated universe theory. Now, I know what you're thinking. God, this has been covered to death. We all know every egghead out there thinks that the universe is a simulation, but surprisingly, I'm not an egghead. I'm coming at this from a regular man perspective, trying to give you my piece as far as why I think there might actually be a good chance that we're in a simulation. So we're going to go over that. There's so much to talk about with that subject, and we're not going to get in all the nuances. We're not going to have some, genius theory that came from somebody a million times smarter than we are. We're not going to, we're not going to have any of that. We're going to have fun, first and foremost, and then we're going to be serious too. So let's go over this and see why I think, and that's what matters, why I think there's a decent chance. Not 100% certain, because I'm not 100% certain on anything, but I think there's a decent chance we're living in a simulation. So, it's funny with this subject of the simulated universe theory because, there are people out there that you talk about the subject to and they're pretty open to it. They're like, oh yeah, it's a pretty interesting idea. Yeah, that's possible. And then actually most people will be like, you'll say, hey, do you think the universe is, a simulation? And it's like, no, simulation, this is real life, end of story, don't even talk to me about this. This is nonsense. They just don't even hear about it at all. And these are probably the same type of people who don't like having their, peas touching their carrots and think crazy things like democracy still exists. So there's no getting through those people no matter what. But whatever. I'm not going to let the haters get me down. So, I don't know why I went on that rant, but I did. And, to anybody that I upset when I talk about this, sorry to burst your bubble, buddy. But, I'm not even 100% certain that the universe is simulated. Maybe an 80% chance that we're living in some crazy video game, but definitely not 100%. So, God, how do we start this? What do we go over? Of course I don't have him helping me. He is my video editor. He's my producer. He helps me. I don't want to give BMAC a hard time, but I am going to give him a hard time anyway. But, I am going to give you the details of everything I've gathered during my miraculous life of being a deadbeat hippie to show you why I'm pretty certain that we're living in a Nintendo 9000. Is that such a bad thing? I'm the Wario, and I'm gonna win. He seems like he's having a pretty good time. Why can't you? So let's continue on this amazing journey and go over why I think there's a pretty good chance we're living in a simulation. But before I begin, the funny thing about this is I'm like the last person who should think that we live in a simulation. I'm not a tech guy. I still use a flip phone. I use technology by shooting this podcast with a computer. But other than that, I'm probably the most illiterate, computer literate person you're ever going to meet. So why would somebody like me be into this whole simulated universe theory? Typically that's for people that work on computers and people, I don't know, people way smarter than I am. Let's just put it that way. Well, my story as far as why I started getting into the simulated universe theory started about, 11 years ago. I think it was back in 2013. This is back when I was still living down in Los Angeles, and I had to take a trip down to Santa Monica for an appointment. And a little backstory of that is I was playing the game Grand Theft Auto 5 for several weeks before I even went down there. And so, I lived about 40 miles away from Santa Monica, which in LA terms is about 110 miles away. Given the traffic, it's horrible. So I'm driving down the 405. I get my Sheryl Crow on, and I'm driving down, Santa Monica Boulevard. And I kind of had this religious experience. I'm looking around, I'm like, oh my God, this looks just like Grand Theft Auto 5. They have landmarks in the correct places. They had a freaking strip mall that looked identical. Had a convenience store in there in the same exact spot. The only difference was, of course, the name of the convenience store was different. But other than that, I mean, there was just so many similarities. I mean, it got to the point where I thought maybe I'd fallen into like a glitch and was in Grand Theft Auto 5. I was like kind of scared I was going to run into Trevor. You know, even though I think Trevor's kind of cool. You know, I kind of like his philosophy, but he probably smells like cat piss and he might try to, you know, do bad things to me. So I was a little frightened. But other than that, I was amazed. You know, and I had GPS because, you know, I'd never been in Santa Monica before. So I had GPS, and I probably only had to use GPS like 20% of the time because the roads were so similar in real life to what was in Grand Theft Auto that I could just drive down. I knew where I was going, despite having never been there. And so this just blew my mind, man. And so I got back home, went on the good old Google, and started searching for other places in Grand Theft Auto 5 that looked just like, you know, the real Los Angeles. And, you know, there was not everything, of course, looked like it. I mean, it's impossible with our technology right now to make it look 100% identical. But there was places like the Santa Monica Pier looks almost identical. PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, looks, actually, I would say identical. I mean, there's buildings that are right by the coastline of, you know, Pacific Coast Highway that are this, you know, the same buildings that are in the game. You know, it's like there's the person's house, a real person's house is in this freaking game. It's amazing. And this, you know, opened up my mind to the possibility of a simulation because I thought, you know, this is 2013. Imagine what this will look like in 10 years. Now we're in 11 years. Imagine what this will look like in 20 years. Imagine what this will look like in 50 years. Especially with, you know, implementing VR. I mean, my God, how crazy is that going to be? Now, that didn't sell me completely on the simulated universe theory. You know, like I said, I'm at 80% now, but at that point, you know, I was about 40% sure this was a simulation. And kind of what got me more into kind of being a little bit more certain that we are in a simulation was actually my experiences that I had with a powerful psychedelic substance called salvia. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of how salvia pretty much convinced me that we're in a simulation because I have already made a video about salvia and kind of broke that down. That video will be linked at the end of this video, so please check it out after you're done watching this. It's one of my favorite videos we ever made, and I promise you won't be disappointed. If you are, you'll get your money back. Just, you know, write to BMAC. He'll give it to you. He's good for it, trust me. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, you know, the Santa Monica story, experiences with salvia, it's like, yeah, I'm 80% certain, if I haven't mentioned that before, that we're living in some sort of simulated universe. And an important thing I want to go over with the subject of, you know, the simulated universe theory is, you know, there's a very understandable feeling people get when, you know, we talk, you know, somebody talks about this subject and, you know, they start thinking that, oh, maybe this is true. And that's the fact that, you know, well, if this is a simulation, then that must make our lives meaningless. And, you know, I actually kind of felt the same way there for a little bit. And salvia kind of slapped me around and, you know, showed me that that's complete horseshit. But, you know, yet again, that's a story for another day. But, you know, I did a lot of thinking on this about us being in a simulation and whether that makes life meaningless or not. And I think I have a way of looking at this that will show you why being in some sort of creation isn't meaningless. Because think about what a creation is. Think about what movies are. Think about what books are. It just there's countless stories I could go over that pull so many emotions into you. I mean, you're watching a movie about some hero and he's on his journey, and you feel all sorts of emotions, battling and conquering and love, loss, all that sort of stuff. People cry watching movies. People laugh watching movies. Those movies aren't real. Those people aren't real. Yet you feel that emotion. And I think there's meaning to emotion. And a personal experience I actually had with a fictional piece of art was playing the game Red Dead Redemption. During the entirety of this game, you're playing as a character, John Marston. You fight all these horrible people in strange lands, all in the name of trying to get your family back and go home. And at the end of that game, John Marston is victorious. He and his family are back together at their ranch, trying to live happily ever after. It's all roses and blue skies. And then, before you know it, boom, John Marston is brutally gunned down by just some nefarious characters. And of course, John Marston at that point ceases to be. Now, I'm not going to lie. When I watched that scene, I started getting tears in my eyes. It felt like my heart ripped out of my chest. I actually felt like I lost a good friend in John Marston. And John Marston is a fictional character. Yet I felt this. There's meaning to that. And yet again, there's countless examples. In children's hospitals, you have, the guy that does the voice for Winnie the Pooh will call sick children and wish them, good health. That's not Winnie the Pooh talking to them. That's just some dude that sounds like Winnie the Pooh. But it makes the kids feel better. There's meaning to that. And we get too caught up in this, what's real and what's not real. And I kind of like looking at it from the point of view of one of my heroes, Philip K. Dick. He said something along the lines of, what is real? We don't know what real is. And yeah, who created the simulation if this is a simulation? Is the creators of the simulation, are they real? Were they created by a simulation? And then were the creators of this simulation who were created by another simulation, were the other creators of that simulation created by another simulation? You see how far this could go. This actually ties into the multi-universe theory, whatever the heck it's called. That might be what that is. The multiverse theory. That, there's just countless amounts of us everywhere doing different things. And that could all be part of the simulation. And are you going to try to tell me that there's no meaning in that? I don't know. I have a hard time believing in that for sure. So, before I wrap this up, I want to end this with a quote. So, I've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. I'm really into Taoism. Taoism is a philosophy, religion, whatever the heck you want to call it, that, has really shaped the way I look at life. And there's different religions and philosophies that have shaped how I look at life, but Taoism especially has done that. And there's a quote from an ancient Taoist by the name of Chuang Tzu, who famously had a dream where he was a butterfly. And then he woke up. And Chengzu had an epiphany. And he thought to himself, am I a man who dreamt I was a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly dreaming that I am a man? Now you've probably seen quotes like that, like on your aunt's Facebook account. So, you're probably rolling your eyes right now, but that is a profound quote. I mean, I find it profound at least. And I think this ties into the whole what's real and what's not, blah, 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 blah. So that pretty much does it for this episode of Creepy and Weird. I hope you found this somewhat entertaining. We're trying. We're trying. We are on YouTube, of course. We've been on YouTube since January. We just started a Rumble account. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to go about doing the Rumble. As far as, am I going to just have same episodes for, YouTube that go to Rumble? I'm pretty sure I'm going to do some exclusive episodes for Rumble, though, because, I think anybody that understands how YouTube and Rumble work will understand why I want to do, special episodes for Rumble. Nothing against YouTube, so please, YouTube gods, don't take that personally. It's just, I want to be on as many platforms as I can possibly be, and I like Rumble. I like YouTube. I like everybody. So, please like, subscribe, comment on subjects you want me to talk about. Comment on people that you want me to interview. Because believe it or not, I'm actually a pretty goddamn good interviewer. So if you get somebody on here, I will, I'm not saying I'll knock anybody's socks off, but I will have a good interview. I won't be like a Bert Kreischer, is that his name? Being all drunk and interrupting people. Or like a Andrew Schultz, that guy with the weird mustache who's always going, fuck that, okay? No offense to either of those people, but, I want to, broaden people's horizons, what have you. I understand they're comedians. So, and Andrew Schultz, he's doing this thing. No offense to you, man. And then Bert, just put on a fucking shirt. That's all. It's the only criticism I have for you. Put on a fucking shirt and, I don't know, maybe I'll like you a little bit more. No offense. I don't know why I went on that rant, but whatever. So that is that. So until next time, embrace the absurd and free your mind, and your ass will follow. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.